Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:07 on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. Coming up, 6:35, Cully Stimson with the Heritage Foundation. He'll explain why D.C. remains one of the nation's most dangerous cities. At 7:15, Andy Pollin with ESPN. He'll tell us about the new RFK Stadium. So exciting. At 7:35, Byron York, Washington Examiner, on Trump's first 100 days, which is today, Hans. It is today.
It is
first
today.
100 days. Happy 100 days. At 8:05, Rick Grinnell with the latest news about the Kennedy Center and the new upcoming Dolly Parton Showcase. I am so excited to talk to him about that. And at 8:35, Representative Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee on the latest Trump immigration policies. I'm Julie Gunlock. You already heard him. Hans von Spakovsky is joining us. He's with the Heritage Foundation. Again, happy 100 days, Hans.
Oh, you mean 100 days since I guest co-hosted with you? Is that what you're talking
It feels
about?
that way. And I do want to say, I am actually not transitioning. I just have a very bad cold. I know I sound like a man this morning, but I'm just dealing with a cold. So.
Or is that you talked so much at the Birchmere?
That's right.
Was that it?
That might be it. So good. Hey, good to have you here. It has been a while.
No, it's nice, and what a significant day. 100 days since the president got inaugurated, and I think we were counting them up. 140 executive orders, and it's actually kind of amazing because Trump is doing something that you almost never see politicians do. He's actually been trying to fulfill all the promises he made on the campaign.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And, I think I am a little frustrated. I think like a lot of Americans, I want to see Congress codifying a lot of what we're seeing through executive order. I sort of have this fear that it's all going to switch back because they are executive orders and they can be switched right back to, they can do away with those executive orders. So I want Congress to act. How do you feel about that? Do you think
I agree. That's very, very important. But look, it's tough. The Republicans only have a couple of votes, a majority in the House and in the Senate side. Anytime they want to get something passed, they're going to have to bypass a filibuster. And I heard Chuck Schumer yesterday say, it's been 100 days of hell. And I was sitting there thinking, for all the criminal illegal aliens in the country, it's been hell. But the fact that he's saying things like that really shows that they're just picking the wrong side.
They are.
The way they made a hero out of human traffickers and these criminal aliens. It's just no wonder their polling is for the Democratic Party is the lowest it's ever been, I think, since they started polling.
70-30 issue in the U.S.
Exactly.
And they cannot seem to move on and really understand what the American public wants. In fact, there have been 139,000 deportations since Trump took office. That's so good, and yet you realize that is a drop in the bucket compared to how many people in 4 years of the Biden administration, which was an open border administration. It is. I try not to get bogged down in that, but it really is depressing when you look at.
Well, it is, but on the other hand, you have to look at the positive side, which is, for example, that when it comes to illegal crossings across the southern border, it's dropped precipitously.
That's right.
And remember, during the Biden administration, all these Democrats and others were saying, we just can't control this. We need more laws. The president needs more power. There's been no change in the law. You just had a change in who was president.
That's right.
And you had somebody come in with the political will to actually start enforcing the law. And I think now the crossings are the lowest since they started recording the numbers.
Well, it doesn't help the Democrats. I always say that when you realize it just took a different president, right?
Yes,
it just took an election to get this solved, and how Americans were so concerned about this, and the Democrats were saying, well, we need a bill, and we need to fix this immigration policies in the U.S., and we need the Republicans to act. And then you see how quickly this was solved. Tom Homan actually talked about this yesterday at the White House. He was at the podium talking about how 139,000 illegal immigrants have been deported. He said, last time I was counting, it was 139,000. I'm happy with the numbers. He said the numbers are good, especially if you, I think we have a cut actually here, Jeff. Yeah, cut one.
Today, as I'm standing here, we are the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it. President Trump's policies are saving lives every day. There's been studies done that says 31% of women that make that journey through use of the cartels get sexually assaulted. When President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by the cartels? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this nation? How many known suspected terrorists aren't making it into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting into this country to kill young Americans? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? Under Joe Biden, sex trafficking is up 600%. We had 4,000 aliens dying making that journey. We had 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl that came across an open border. President Trump's policy saves lives every day. Even the border wall saves lives. If people want to hate on the border wall, every place a border barrier has been built, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flows decline. But you know what no one talks about? The border wall saves lives. Because the most vulnerable, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the United States Border Patrol who will take care of those humanitarian needs, the health needs right off the bat.
Homan went on to say that he believes over 20 million illegal immigrants are in the U.S., and his focus is on the nearly 700,000 who have been accused of convicted of crimes. There was a huge raid in Colorado.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. You know about this? What was?
I was just astonished when I saw. Colorado Springs. I've been there multiple times. The U.S. Air Force Academy is
Sure.
there. Actually, the Stargate too.
Right.
It's a beautiful small town, bucolic, and yet big raid by federal immigration.
Is this where there was that series of apartment buildings that were taken over?
No, that's a different town. But here they raided in the middle of the night an underground nightclub.
Okay.
Arrested 100 illegal aliens, including members of two of the worst gangs, TDA and MS-13.
They're buddies.
And I'm going, these folks are headquartered in this small town in Colorado. And look, there were quotes from the local sheriff saying, this is the fault of the liberals in the state legislature, the liberals who run Denver, who have turned us into a sanctuary state and city, and that's why all these dangerous criminals are coming to Colorado.
They also found illicit drugs inside the nightclub, including cocaine, methamphetamines, a mixture of powdered drugs known as pink cocaine. Wow. So
and weapons.
And weapons.
Yeah.
So Homan is getting it done. Meanwhile, on the White House lawn, they have put out a series of pictures of some of these people. We'll get into that in this next hour because, of course, CNN is, crying and sweating and blurring out the faces. So we'll talk about that next.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So the White House has, so in the Northern Virginia area, obviously Maryland too, all this sort of D.C. region, it's really popular to put your political beliefs on a yard sign. Is that true in your neighborhood?
Well, yeah, I have to say there's quite a few government employees.
Yes. Well, now the trend is we support federal employees. Can you imagine? I can't imagine putting that yard sign. But the point is that when my parents come to visit, they'll go, "Why does everyone have yard signs?" Sort of advertising their political beliefs.
Right.
After Trump was elected, it was the famous kindness and hate has no home here. Right. Just all this virtue signaling. I had my neighbor across the street. Her entire front yard was just filled with virtue signaling, anti-Trump, you get it. So the White House has gotten in on this trend, Hans. They have now, put up mugshot-style posters showcasing the illegal immigrants that have been arrested, deported, and their alleged crimes.
Oh, well, and many of them are convicted.
And convicted.
Convicted.
Yes.
So it's not alleged crime. It's basically a rogues gallery. That's the way to call it. It's a rogues gallery of signs of all these criminal, illegal aliens who this administration has caught and deported, but the Biden administration allowed to roam our neighborhoods.
That's right. These are violent criminals.
Yes.
Horrifying, violent criminal. Rape, murder. Our friend Link Lauren, he's on the show quite a bit. He talked about it. Let's play cut 3.
So today at the White House, they have these yard signs up for illegal migrants who've been arrested for committing heinous crimes. We all know this person right here. We've seen them all over X. We've seen the memes a million times. Now, these yard signs are located on what's called Pebble Beach, where all of the mainstream legacy media do their television hits. We have CNN, MSNBC. So behind them all day, they won't be able to avoid these signs, even though they tried to turn Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 gang member, into a Maryland man.
Yeah, the Maryland man, the Maryland dad. So the reaction...
Can we say about the Maryland dad who was stopped by the Tennessee State Patrol driving a car he didn't own without a license filled with 7 strangers, and the car now has been revealed was owned by a guy convicted of human trafficking.
Oh, how about that? Hans, he's just a Maryland dad.
Yeah, right.
Maybe he was taking them to, a football game or something.
An MS-13 gang member, domestic abuser, human trafficker. That's the hero of Chris Van Houten.
Well, and the liberal hero of this whole story has been Jake Tapper, of course, of CNN, who has CNN has decided to blur the pictures of these convicted illegal alien criminals. He has blurred them. I am not quite sure why they've decided to blur them, but I guess it's the kind thing to do, right? I mean, who cares that these people are criminals who've raped and murdered and trafficked?
Right. I guess that means they would also blur the faces of all of their victims,
right,
too, so that we wouldn't know about that.
Yeah. So I actually heard quite a bit of sort of real consternation on the part of the media yesterday. I tuned into something. I'm not sure what I was listening to, but they were saying, is it right? Is this a violation of their rights? These criminals, these convicted criminals, is it a violation of their rights to put them on posters? So the press is really struggling with this. Of course, you think of all the people that the media has happily exposed out there, not blurring their faces, not concealing their names. People on the right, of course.
Yeah, based on anonymous sources.
Yeah.
With just unproven allegations, and they're concerned about the privacy of convicted criminals. Why? Because they're aliens?
Hey, Jeff, is cut 4? Can you play cut 4? This is Jake Tapper talking about the decision to blur out the faces.
The Trump administration is approaching its first 100-day mark with a full court press on the issue of illegal immigration, and they really don't want you to miss it. So they subtly and tastefully deck the White House North Lawn with dozens of yard signs featuring photos of people that the Trump administration claims are in the country illegally, each poster saying arrested and listing the alleged offensive with which they have been charged.
People. They're not people. They're criminals. Now, if this was a real news organization without this liberal bias, what would they be doing? They would be taking the names and the pictures and doing an investigation.
Yes.
And let us know, who is this person? What were they convicted of? What were the circumstances? Who were the victims?
Yes.
But that doesn't interest them.
No, it doesn't. We'll have more to get to on this and other topics. Right now, it is 5:22.
CNN's working to confirm the identities and if there are actual allegations against these people. Until then, we are blurring their identities.
Oh, Jake. Good God. If there's any evidence against these people.
Oh, come on. You think they didn't check that before they put their pictures up?
Exactly.
Hey, can we send a suggestion to CNN that whenever Jake is on, they blur his face?
That is a great idea.
Don't you think?
That is a great idea. Well, Jake is going to continue to sort of beat this drum that, nobody's had due process, that this is, tyrannical, that this is, whatever, continue the insults. Meanwhile, I'm a woman and I feel a lot safer in this. And I know a lot of women throughout the country feel a lot safer that these people are being rounded up and shipped out.
They should be. And the fact that, again, that the Democrats in this case, and that includes most of the media, are trying to make heroes.
I know.
Out of these criminal illegal aliens
Yeah.
is like, do you want to guarantee you lose the next election again?
Okay, well, we'll have more on this, but we also, next hour, we're going to talk about the update on Secretary Noem's purse snatcher. Coming up, keep it here. It is 5:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:37 on Tuesday morning. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 6:35, Cully Stimson with the Heritage Foundation. He'll explain D.C.'s it never seems to end. It remains one of the nation's most dangerous cities. He'll explain. At 7:15, Andy Pollin with ESPN. He'll tell us about the new RFK Stadium. At 7:35, Byron York on Trump's first 100 days. And at 8:05, Rick Grinnell with the latest news about the Kennedy Center and the new upcoming Dolly Parton showcase. Very exciting. At 8:35, Rep. Jim Jordan, he's chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He'll give us the latest on Trump's immigration policies. I'm Julie Gunlock, joined by my friend Hans von Spakovsky with the Heritage Foundation. Happy 100 days.
And good morning to you, Julie. I
Good
guess
morning.
I'm sitting in for Larry, who's off to family stuff.
Oh, my
isn't he?
gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
his daughter is getting married this
Isn't that
weekend.
great?
So he is. And I'm so glad because he was like, should I? Maybe I'll do the radio and, not. We thought, you should take the whole week.
Yeah,
You need to be
you should.
present for your daughter.
It's one of those great occasions in life.
Have you had a wedding yet?
Last year, our daughter got married in January, and our son got married in August. So we had a
Oh,
double
my
wedding
gosh.
last year.
Wow.
But it was great, and such an occasion, and particularly because it's a family gathering too.
Yeah.
You have families coming together, and I like weddings. They're a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of family gatherings, we had a bit of a family gathering on Sunday with the Free Speech Forum. Such an incredible night. That's why I feel like I might have talked too much, or I've caught a little bit of a cold, so I'm sounding a little a little rough this morning. But Sunday night, can we play Cut 6? Because this is the perfect segue into the topic we're going to talk about, Kristi Noem's purse, and we brought that up at the Free Speech Forum.
Mercedes?
Yes.
You can leave your purse in the green room.
No, because you know what happens to purses, but it's if you are in D.C. You know what could happen, right?
Well, it's not like you're the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Mercy came out there. We all went out on stage, and Mercy came out there with this enormous purse that she was clutching to her chest, like it was her baby. And so we were kind of making fun of her for that. But it was the perfect DC joke because Kristi Noem, as you know, had her purse snatched by, honestly, look, I don't feel bad for this purse snatcher, but there is a little bit of me that's like, this guy did not mean to steal the purse of Kristi Noem.
Well, but yeah, because he was an illegal alien.
That's right. He was an alien.
And we should point out that a month prior to this, he did the same thing in New York City?
Yeah.
And why was he in a position to do this again in Washington, D.C.? Well, why? Because of New York City's sanctuary policy. Instead of, after he was arrested in New York, calling DHS and saying, hey, we've arrested an illegal alien. Can you come pick him up? No, they have a sanctuary policy. They released him. He, of course, didn't show up for his trial date. And what does he do? He comes to D.C. So that could have been a much more serious
They let him
crime.
go. So explain this to me. He was picked up by cops in New York for similar crimes.
Right.
Just a few weeks earlier. and they let him go with a desk appearance ticket and a court date. So he snatched purses, and instead of handing him over to ICE,
Right.
they basically said, here's your court date, which of course he's not going to show up to.
No, of course not.
And they let him go.
And look, people listening to this may say, "Oh, okay, well, he was just a purse snatcher, so it's no big deal. New York has a sanctuary city." It's like, oh yeah, well, the illegal alien who was convicted of murdering Laken Riley down in Georgia, he was also arrested for crimes in New York City, and he was released. Why? Because of their sanctuary policies. And that's how he was in Georgia to commit that horrible crime.
Well, he has now, they have picked him up, obviously. He apparently, after swiping Noem's purse, which contained $3,000 in cash, her passport, wallet, and government ID, he hopped on a bus and sidled up to a bar in D.C., I've never heard of this place, where he boozed it up until midnight and rang up a $205 tab on her American Express, on Noem's American Express, which he had $3,000 in cash, but he went ahead and charged her American Express. He landed on New York City Police Department's radar on March 2nd after he swiped a fanny pack from a Times Square dosa shop and racked up $1,200 in credit card charges in just 20 minutes, according to the victim. Tom Homan, though, talks about how, this guy picked the wrong person. Let's play cut 7.
If you're going to rob from the Secretary of Homeland Security, that means you're going to do just about anything. So he picked the wrong target. They got right on it. He's now arrested. He'll be held accountable. Secretary Noem is a no-nonsense secretary, and she's going to continue to enforce the law. So I think this is a pure example of illegal aliens committing crimes across the cities, big and small.
Yeah, and actually it is believed that he's part of this large East Coast robbery organization. He told investigators he's an alcoholic and that he has memory problems, but he did clearly remember taking the Gucci bag.
Yeah, and what Tom Homan said about he'll be held responsible, again, we're talking about 100 days. The difference is if this was the Biden administration and he'd been arrested, first of all, the U.S. attorney wouldn't prosecute him because the U.S. attorney under Biden dropped. So over 65% of his cases didn't even prosecute him. Plus, they would release him again instead of deporting him.
Right. It's 5:43.
WMAL, making sense of education, because what's happening in your kid's school matters. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
So there was an election in Canada yesterday, and sadly, the Liberal candidate won. That will be the fourth term of the Liberal government elected in Canada. It is shocking, given what the Canadian people have been through with Trudeau, that they basically reelected Trudeau, or a Trudeauian candidate.
Trudeau 4.0.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. What is going on in Canada? I mean, of course, everybody's blaming Trump and the tariffs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but no. The Canadian people are apparently I guess they like socialism. I guess they like the move towards Marxism. I guess they must like that because that's what they're voting for.
Yeah, Trump issued a statement the day before the election. He said, "Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world. Have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States." It's so funny. As he writes these things, he capitalizes weird things. So he put a period and then anyway. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America, no more artificially drawn line from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border, all positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. America can no longer subsidize Canada with the hundreds of billions of dollars a year we have been spending in the past. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state. Was that? Oh, okay. Yes, that was yesterday. So they have elected Mark Carney. Again, he's Canada's new prime minister. He is a Liberal, and again, fourth straight term, Liberal term in government for that party. It's really depressing. And he beat Pierre Poilievre. He was the one who ate the apple, right, while he was talking to that reporter.
Yeah, I think that was right.
Yeah. I don't know much about. I mean, do you know that? Did he sort of run a bad campaign or?
No, I think part of the problem in Canada is that they have gotten used to these and like these big government policies, and they don't think about the fact that they're paying way too much in taxes. They're way too regulated, and remember, they have these so-called human rights commissions and councils in every province, and if you and I got on the radio and said anything negative or said things like, well, there's only two genders,
oh, wow, yeah,
we would get investigated.
Right.
And we would get potentially prosecuted. Right. That's how bad the censorship has gotten in Canada.
Well, the other priority for Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, is the climate. Let's play cut 8.
Skepticism about ESG labels or sustainable labels, and that again is one of the reasons we're having this ruthless, relentless focus on net zero, because in the end, look, we can't stabilize the climate unless we get to net zero, and it's a simple, these are hard numbers. Your emissions are either A or B, they're going up or down, and if they're going down, are they going down consistent with the science? We anchor it in the science, the same science the UN and others use for the 1.5 degree objectives.
This is see what happened in Spain and Portugal yesterday?
Yeah, because that is so ridiculous.
It is.
That is so ridiculous. Yeah, they're having huge blackouts in Spain and Portugal. Why? Well, because they no longer have steady, reliable energy.
Yeah, good luck with that net zero. That's great. Right. That's exactly what it gets you.
And what's the point of all this? Well, to maybe bring down the temperature by, what, 1/100th of 1 degree?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Canadians are in for more hurt. They have just elected a guy who's going to continue these policies the trucker strike, where they punished those truckers for simply objecting to government policies. They literally they froze their bank accounts.
Right. And we're seizing their money.
Properties. Yeah. I mean, it really is astonishing after all the pain that Canada has been through. And again, you are going to hear in this country, the tappers and MSNBC, they're all going to blame Trump, and I actually have seen it from some people on the right that they're going to blame Trump and his tariff policies, and it's a lot more complicated than that.
No, the only people to blame for this are the Canadian people themselves. They're voting to continue being under an over-regulated, over-taxed government.
That's right. It's 5:52. Okay, coming up, we are going to continue to mark the 100-day mark of the Trump presidency. It's been a great 100 days, hasn't it, Hans?
Yeah, and more than one executive order a day.
Yeah, exactly. There have been 140 executive orders. And next hour, we're going to talk about this latest executive order. A lot of these executive orders are just common sense, right? And this last one, requiring truck drivers, those guys that drive those massive, vehicles down the interstates that could kill you, to speak English. So that is the latest common sense.
What a radical idea.
What a terrible thing. How awful. So racist. Keep it here. We'll talk about that and DC crime coming up next. It's 6 o'clock.